Because you're so hidden as a house, because you actually don't have a street address, the nice thing is it's like, you know, there are no cars going past. It's pretty quiet.
Hi. Wow, you're really tucked away back here.
Completely secret.
It is.
Covert house. Well, we called it covert house. Covert, obviously, so that the idea being that nobody can see it. You can't see it from the street. Actually, most of the parameters of the heights and so forth, so that you can't really see it very much from people's gardens. This is looking down into one of the courtyards, so the bedrooms are all below ground, but they have full height glazing. And they're quite a shallow courtyard, works really well for that. The landscaping is stepped here to make sure that you get a more comfortable view, and it brings some greenery into the foreground there as well.
You weren't allowed to build any higher, so you thought, okay, we'll go underground?
Yeah. And the guy, we had this fantastic concrete contractor, he told us we should just excavate everything. He builds mega basements, I guess, but we equally wanted to, you know, retain some garden, real garden. But he did rationalise everything, so we have made a lot more use of the space below ground. So you can see probably from where you are the staircase coming up. The line of the concrete box in the ground is defined by this line.
Oh, you mean you literally have a cement concrete box?
We dug a big hole to build the house in. That's also cheaper. It's just a square box. Every time you have to push in and out, then you're building really complicated shuttering. And so when you go down, the simpler you can make it, the better. We worked out how much space we needed for light to come down, and then that just defined the corners of the house. Being semi-underground, upstairs, what's above ground? Yeah, it's pretty modest. When you look at this building from above, actually some people's garden sheds look almost the same size.
Are you from this neighborhood?
So we used to live like 3 streets along, and my partner's an architect. She'd always wanted to build her own house, and obviously in London that's not very easy. And so, well, she did a Google search, an aerial search of houses that had big gardens. The condition in London that some streets are built with huge gardens, and there's quite often leftover space in the middle. And she wrote and then did land registry searches, and she wrote to like 6 people, I think. And the owner of the pink house here wrote back and said, well, actually, yeah, sure, I've been trying to sell this. And in the London property market, she wanted loads of money. So Deborah explained how you could actually get the real value for what the place was worth, with the intention that we would then take the risk to get planning permission to build in the garden. So we instantly divided up the land, sold the pink house to some friends, which is romantically called the farmhouse. It's always been called the farmhouse. It's never a farmhouse, but you know, it's like... The weird story here is that historically, the pink house had actually been built because this house at the end was built by the builder who built the street. Subsequently, the owner had been written to in 1871 and said, we've noticed you have a yard out the back. Could we build a house there? And that's how the pink house got built.
So this house here, well, this is who you bought the land from.
Yeah.
So they were a backyard of somebody else, or they were a house that was built in a backyard in the 19th century.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you then again said,
we did it in the 20th century.
More of your backyard.
Yeah.
So
there's probably a limit. I don't think we could do it again.
Your backyard.
Or maybe I'm going to build a kennel now for the dog. You know, that will be the thing. So this was completely overgrown because the person who lived here. Oh my God, it's really falling down, isn't it?
Let's go inside and we'll just take it. Oh my God.
Hi.
Hi.
There we get the full view of the rain. This was all a completely overgrown garden of self-seeded sycamores, because she'd moved in and I think done some work in the 50 years ago, and then had never touched it since. It was a lord from the House of Lords and had their estate in Scotland, so they were basically waiting to retire, and this place was just run down. But we also do have a lot of neighbours. It's like Rear Window here, you know, so all of the neighbours were obviously really concerned about the loss of this overgrown garden, because even though it really was just kind of pretty poor quality sycamore trees that are covered in ivy, it was a green oasis. And so we had to work really hard with the planners to negotiate all of the constraints. So the height was limited, distance from the boundaries was limited, and everything about the house. The roof is a green roof. We have solar hot water. It's a sedum roof, so it's a drought-tolerant planting. It requires a very thin build-up, but it creates a sustainable climate, microclimate for wildlife.
I mean, from above, you're not seeing a lot of house.
Yeah, and we planted, this is a mulberry tree. There's a whole series of trees you can see around the edges, so there's a lot of screening from the neighbours' gardens anyways. We're deliberately keeping, growing quite big trees because we quite like a shady garden, particularly as the world's getting hotter and hotter. Shade is a precious commodity. So what we tried to do with the corners was all of the windows on the upper floor are pushed in to create these quite deep reveals with angled mirrors, so that the mirror will reflect something from a slightly different view, and the corners start to dissolve. So these are...
And it's just mirror. It's just regular.
Yeah, it's actually polished stainless steel on a backing, so it's really very lightweight cladding. It starts to just reflect different things. So the house is like this series of two interlocking cubes, essentially, with a third cube cut into the ground, so they come out of this third volume. Down here, you get these lovely views out to the garden, so you don't feel like you're underground at all.
That's a great point. It's natural light on a rainy day.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really grey day.
Because you took advantage of just the sliver of space that's above ground to make a window.
Yes, this is the ground outside. We raised the ground floor by 600 mil so that we would automatically have this clerestory light. And then when it carries through outside, there's another wall of mirror. So that's got the whole house ventilation kit, the hot water cylinder. It has an air source heat pump, which you can just see out the window there. So the house is designed that you can keep it completely sealed, and it sort of self-regulates. By being semi-underground, it's really stable. The temperature, particularly down here, in the summer this stays cool, and in the winter it stays relatively warm. So you don't actually need much heating at all anyway. One of the things of having these doors is if the rooms are tidy and you can leave them open, again, when you're down in this space, you get a sense of light on all sides again. So you've got the light behind you, the east light coming through here, the view out to the south, as I said, when it's sunny, is amazing, and you're getting the light dropping down. It's not fully below ground, but I think the important thing here was bringing the windows down to the ground floor and having a sense that you can go outside as well. Really, are you going to try and take this box back? This is a parcel which has been in our house for 2 weeks, and it has this amazing delivery service that you're supposed to be able to go and drop it off. And we've tried like 4 places that no, we won't take that, it's too big, or anything. Anyway, let me move it. So it's constantly moved from one space to another. And it's obviously a concrete house. We didn't want to put any lights in the ceiling. I really don't like down lights, because I think if in a home you might be lying down on the sofa, and the last thing you want to do is stare up at a light. So we played all these tricks. So we wanted these beams to run past, so that the light came through the ceiling.
So it gives you a sense you're almost outdoors. You couldn't really tell where...
Yeah, how is it enclosed? You don't really know. There's built-in lighting into the top of these beams. There's recessed LED lighting, so that gives a really soft glow. There's the same in here. There's a recessed light, which you can actually see here. This one is a task light, so we designed this fitting so there was something that you can actually have direct light if you want to over where you're cooking. But otherwise, all the lights are hidden. They're just built into the furniture. This is a light fitting, so you can just see so you can see these lights will come on, You know, daylight is most important to us. So this is a glass cabinet because it then lets the light come through from the other side. So during the day, this is just a sort of filtering natural daylight. So you don't feel particularly enclosed, and then at night you can turn those lights on and that will let diffuse light come through. You design lighting usually to sort of turn it on almost like with floodlight level, you know. Yes. And it's almost Victorian here. The light level is much lower. And I found it really brilliant because when I came home from work, there's a different quality of light. You know, you can never turn it into an office lighting. You know, so you know that you're in the evening, you live much more in tune with daylight.
So the concept here is that, well, you only had a certain amount of space that you were allowed to build above ground?
Yeah, obviously we wanted to be sympathetic to the pink house, the farmhouse. So you can't look into the house. So we said, right, we don't want any windows which are going to be either way, you know, looking through, because that's the closest neighbour. And then we were also given a height issue at the boundary, so this is lower towards those two boundaries.
And it's lower on that side because
of the proximity to those houses. Those guys have shorter gardens than everyone else. So you come into the house in a low space. The kitchen is again in a low space, and this volume of the living room is slightly higher. Yeah, so that's the rear of just like a very lovely terrace of houses. And you look out this window or any of these windows and you'll see the same. They did have huge gardens. So we're basically buried in this, but this particular house kind of claimed the middle of the plot. And what's great is you get all of these accidental views, and then we've used that whole principle, so we've carved a series of courtyards so that you then get full height glazing in the lower ground floor rooms as well. Light was really important.
Even this door is great. I mean,
yeah, everybody loves this door because it's here notionally, you know, just to give a degree of separation, but it's not obviously a full soundproof door, but it just kind of buffers the thing. The house, it's very fluid, open plan in the way that we use our homes in a very different way now. The same materials are used everywhere. So the living room is the same as the bedroom, almost the same as the bathroom, and that you can work or sleep or play wherever you want to. But it's sort of, and I think that helps with a sense of spaciousness as well. It's a relatively small house, so using a really limited palette of materials just helps it to feel much more kind of fluid. As I mentioned that there were lots of trees here, and so we chopped down all the trees. So this room here is lined with sycamore trees. Yeah, so through this mirror, so first we come with more mirrors, and we don't like handles, but anyway, so then you come into this little room, the WC here, and this is lined with timber that's cut from the garden.
From this garden?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is sort of memory of the site itself, which is the one room where we allowed ourselves to a different materiality. The house is compact, so everywhere we can, you push, and wherever there's depth, there's a little bit of storage. So, you know, you've got your kitchen rolls behind there, and behind here is just, you know, there's another little cupboard for bits and pieces behind there. This is another cupboard for, you know, other essential things.
Going, yeah.
The staircase is white concrete. Although concrete is grey everywhere, it's made with recycled aggregate, but there's white concrete using marble dust where it is used for the stairs or to change level.
So the idea is that both the upstairs and downstairs are the same size?
They're not the same size. Actually, downstairs is bigger because it goes under the terrace. We have extra height down here to give you a sort of sense of spaciousness. It's a nice informal second living space. And then through here, the main bedroom. So down here, you get a sense, so this is coming underneath the roof light. This is so that you have a separate study. The roof light that you can walk on comes out from the kitchen. The light here is great. Again, we get what can I say? You're in a basement, but you really wouldn't think so. And I think it was important to us that you can actually go outside from all of these rooms as well. So it's connected to the garden. You'll see more mirror here. So where we stepped the section here, there's the pond, which reflects the sky, obviously. Then you come down, there's mirror, which this doubles the impact of the greenery here, and again just starts bouncing kind of more views. People often say, oh, what's through there? Again, as if there's another. It's just to create the illusion of connection to space beyond, or to dissolve a boundary. You'll see these clerestory windows, because they're sort of pushed back, what it does is just slightly softens the light coming inside down here. And what we love down here, you can see the story of the house being built. You see the line that tracks around. It's where they were doing the pours of concrete. It was a hot day, and they poured the whole of this floor in one go. It had to be vibrated, waiting for the second pour to come, but I think it took an hour longer than it was supposed to. And so the joint is expressed, which, you know, I think lots of people would have been really upset about. And for us, it was like, well, this is like the archaeology of the house. It's a really nice sort of moment of imperfection. It's as it comes. It's like, we're not going to be uptight and try and, you know, put slurry over the top and cover it all up. It's just, it has a matte varnish on it so that it's easier to clean and maintain. And it's just a really simple surface.
It's more like stone. It's more natural, I think.
Yeah, it feels like a natural material. So the same material goes straight into the bathrooms as well. In the bathroom, you shower against the concrete as well. So it's like, you know, it's an amazing house to live in, and you don't have to look after it. It looks after itself. There's no circulation space. Everything is used. And even here, you know, there's the separation between these two rooms. This is a deep wall of storage. You know, these are all your cupboards. So it's like, you know, everything. There's a lot more space to make it functional as a house. Well, equally, we're standing with doors open, but I mean, I think it's just much calmer to be in a space and not feel like there's, you know, a wall of doors. You know, that's why the handles are just, you know, these are just recesses. So it's just paneling. You know, if you're in this room and you want to watch a movie, you can close the doors, and it's like a room that's designed to watch a film. You know, so, you know, you can, again, it's not a circulation space once you're here. It's just very, very calm. Yeah, and these rooms, Stella and Isaac's rooms, the territory that no camera's ever allowed in. Oh. But these are really simple, flexible rooms. I don't know, is Isaac in here?
I think it's upstairs.
Well, I mean, they're teenagers' rooms, but they change all the time.
It's a wall of window.
Yeah.
So again, you don't feel underground.
Yeah, and this is south facing, so, you know, on a sunny day, actually, these all have blackout blind. Upstairs, there are sort of blinds that just filter the view, but down here, obviously, for sleeping, you can kind of completely close this off, which is great. So you can pick up on the wall here. Again, you can see this line that runs around the concrete that just tracks that through. And we designed this with the felt walls between these rooms so that you could open the two rooms up together if you want to. So this could become one room.
It's a house that can go with you as you go through different stages.
Yeah, I mean, I think people always will ask about concrete and sustainability. So this uses pulverized fuel ash in it, so it has a recycled aggregate essentially to reduce how that's used. But the thing that we love about it, not only is it thermally very stable, is that it's going to be here for forever. It doesn't really invite flexibility, but we could then minimize the amount that we use so that the framing of the building is as open as possible.
Houses are different now, especially given the kitchen. I mean, your kitchen doesn't even really look like a kitchen.
Well, and I think that's really important, isn't it? You don't visually want to see it. So we usually try to design them so they look like furniture.
I don't even see a refrigerator.
So this is the fridge, very full fridge at the moment. And then, you know, where there's a kind of slither of extra space, we would always design something so that, you know, you've got tiny little spice racks here. The dishwasher is tucked under here. And then you know, the bins, blah, blah, blah. The oven is hidden, but obviously this is the, so it's nice and theatrical when you are cooking, you know, you're really in the room, and there, everything is then pull out drawers within. So it's really optimized storage. There's a freezer in there, hidden. The hob is not even raised up, everything is completely flush, so that it is just that one surface. You know, there's no controls or anything.
Where are the controls?
The controls are in the drawer.
It's a remote control?
So you just put it on there, and then now it will work, so now you can turn it on and you can control it.
Is that induction?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great.
So long as you don't lose it, of course.
Now you see how subtle all the lighting is. It's really nice.
Yeah, I do have one friend and their house has only candlelight still. They live in Soho and he lives in this amazing house where there's no electric lighting in it at all. So that gave me great confidence that you can still live without the house being sort of floodlit. One of the things we love, for instance, that little window there, we added in at the last minute, and we love small windows that are just sort of weirdly placed. But that's an east-facing elevation.
Yeah.
So what happens is you get a little square of sunlight in the morning, you know, that just tracks across this wall. And so there are things like that which are just really nice about the, you know, just sensing the day. It's just being able to track that movement is wonderful.